Hey everyone, welcome to the back half and this update on books and bakes. So, I wanted to read Blood River Witch for one particular reason. It's set in the rural western Kentucky that I still consider to be where I'm from. I hardly ever see the rolling fields of alfalfa, the herds of languid cows, tiny towns of a couple hundred people that I grew up with in the novels that I read or the shows that I watch. So it was hard to say no when I came across this novel by T.J. Martinson. It may seem odd that nostalgia drove me to pick an occult thriller that opens with a gutted human corpse crucified upside down in an abandoned tobacco barn. That's not exactly my experience of childhood in Caldwell County. Although the Great Satanic Panic was certainly in full swing during my teenage years, not long after I left for college, I heard a rumor that swept through the county that a Satanist cult was planning on snatching kids from the local schools, setting off a rush of panicked parents grabbing their kids out of school early. When you have that many evangelical churches scattered across the towns and the countryside, you're going to have plenty of people ready to see the devil's hands at work. In Blood River Witch, Deputy Alicia Moore bears the distrust and scorn of her hometown because of her teenage connection to an early aughts murder of an out-of-state trucker who was tortured, gutted, and crucified by a demon-obsessed classmate. She's estranged from her father, the former sheriff, whose interrogation of her set off a chain of events that leads the town to whisper of her as the witch of the book's title. And now, in the present, an anonymous call brings her back to that same abandoned tobacco barn to find her former fiancé mutilated and crucified. Is it a copycat? Was there another killer left undiscovered? As Alicia tries to find her way through an investigation that her sheriff and the state police would rather her not be a part of, her role as town scapegoat and suspected villain take an even greater toll on her job, her marriage, and her relationship with her young son. While the novel is structured as a mystery, the story is fascinated by the long memories of small towns and the way those towns pressure people to conform and belong, to share the same beliefs and long for the same nostalgic past. Oh, and to assign blame and guilt over generations. That part I definitely remember from back home. It was fun to actually read something that takes place in my old backyard. When you live in a big city, you get used to your home being a stage. Blood River Witch is the first time I've ever come across the road I grew up on in a work of fiction. Granted, that road was Highway 641, which isn't exactly a poetic gift to fiction, but I'll take what I can get. But part of me felt a little sad reading it, viewing my home through the window of the 21st century. I left home for college in 1985 at age 17, and by 18, my accent was already changing under the pressure of private school privilege and my embarrassment of being seen as a hick or a hillbilly. Where once I would say 10 in reference to both a roof and a number, I began to smooth it out to 10 when needed. Those high-pitched border south vowels of Kentucky flattened and stretched into the mid-Atlantic southern voice I aspired to, so people wouldn't look at my feet and see if I was wearing shoes. It wasn't just my voice, it was what I allowed myself to say. I don't think it's quite as bad these days, but being from backwoods Kentucky came with a certain cultural assumption of low intelligence and cousin fucking. While some of those stereotypes arose from the willful bigotry that comes from being a state that's biggest regret was not being part of the Confederacy, it's not an entirely fair way to think of Kentucky, even if they did inflict Mitch McConnell on the world. But I overcorrected and ran as far as I could from that cultural background, settling in the D.C. area and always being grateful I could punch down on West Virginia. These days, I can't even fake the accent I grew up speaking unless I'm very angry or very drunk. I'm no longer fluent in the language of my home. Parts of it are recognizable to me in Blood River Witch, primarily that deep-seated belief among rural Kentuckians that things were better in the past and that the outside world looks down on them. But the rest, from the formerly dry counties now gone wet, to the metastasizing MAGA mindset, to the ongoing destruction of the opioid epidemic, those are all foreign lands to me now. I'm still from there. I still have family and people I love there. But Western Kentucky isn't who I am anymore, even if I mourn a little all the things that I once ran from. If that sounds like a lot to put into a mystery novel, it is. Though Martinson isn't just doing a genre exercise, he's obviously interested in all those aspects of what it means to be from that place. This is a highly literary tale of violence and memory, not a simple potboiler. But that's the fun of reading. You never know what you're going to find, even when you think you know what you're looking for. So I'm off to a pretty good pace with books and bakes. Over the weekend, I finished my 5th book. My minimum goal is 20 books by Labor Day, which will put our total pledges somewhere over the $2,000 mark. My initial thought when I started this was that if I raised a couple $100 for Cake for Kids, that would be a great success for my first year doing this. So going well past that with about 9 weeks still to go makes me so grateful to those of you who've pledged your support through Books and Bakes. You can find them all at SeanBugRealtor.com, Books and Bakes. This whole effort would not exist without them. There's still plenty of time to make your pledge and add your name. Visit the website and make your pledge of $1, $5, or $10 a book. And you can set a cap. So if I go hog wild in the bookshelves during July and August and read way more than the 20 books that I was thinking, you're not going to get hit with a big pledge bill. A read-a-thon is supposed to be fun, not stressful. Also, if you enjoy hearing about books and culture at the back half, hit like and subscribe. That'll keep you up to date and it'll keep helping the channel grow. I'll see you this weekend with a review of Marissa Cashino's Best Offer Wins, a very dark comedy about the real estate market in D.C. and what links someone may go to get their dream home. Think Gone Girl and a multi-offer competition for a 5-bedroom, 4-bath upscale colonial. It's brutal out there. Until then, grab the book and enjoy reading.